Hello, everybody. This is Kyra Dolifka. In this video, we're going to be going over Google Flights. Now, before I even get started, I want to make sure that you all know that Google Flights is simply a research tool. It is not a vendor. It is not a place that we book travel. It's not one of our suppliers. It is a tool we use for research purposes only, okay? So just so you know, this is not where you're going to go to book flights, but I do want to share with you because I think you'll see that there is a lot of value when you're doing research for clients to use Google Flights. So you'll see here, I'm at google.com/travel/flights, okay? And you can see it says flights right here. Google has a lot of travel tools. I only use the flights part of it, and I think you'll find it very valuable. Now, you can always go to google.com and just Google Flights, and it will take you directly to this website, okay? So let's kind of start with our search here. I'm going to show you guys how to use it as well as some of the great features that it has. So down here, you can select round trip, one-way flights, as well as multi-city. So if you're working with a client that's got multiple stops, you know, it's a multiple destination trip, you can actually research that in Google Flights as well. For purposes of this video, we're going to go with round trip. Next up is the number of passengers. This is important to know because if you have a group traveling, let's say you have 4 people traveling, you absolutely need to put that in when you are researching on Google Flights. I have personally had it happen where I needed flights for 4 people and I only put 1 person because I was researching. I didn't think it was necessary. But it turned out the flight that I was looking at didn't have 4 seats, it only had 1. So in that case, I thought there was a flight available for my clients that was actually not available for their number of people, okay? For purposes of this training, I'm going to choose 1, but no matter how many people you're looking for, make sure you put that in here and you're not just researching for 1 passenger because that is something that can happen. You can also change the class on the plane as well. So let's do a search here, okay? I'm in Houston here. I'm actually going to choose IAH. You'll see you may type some cities in here that have multiple airports. There are some cities that do. I'm going to particularly look at IAH airport for this training here. But if you don't know what the airport code is, again, you would just type in Houston. You would see these 2 pop up, and then that would be a time to ask your client. But you can see that if you don't know the airport code, it's still going to be okay. It will help you find it. We're going to do IAH. Let's do to Cancun. So if I type Cancun here, you can see here the airport is CUN, and I'm going to go ahead and click that. So we're going to look at some dates. I like to go a few months out. So we're going to look at October for this training here. Now, one thing that's really great about Google Flights is that if you have a client who says, hey, I have 2 weeks off work, I'd like to go for, let's just say 5 nights. I want the best rates, right? Oftentimes the flight price fluctuates more than the resort or hotel accommodation price. So when you have that client who says, what's the cheapest days to go? That's a great time to come over here to Google Flights and do some research. So let's say this client wants to go in the first, let's say 10 to 12 days of October. I'm going to look here and you'll see here on these dates, the price that it's going to be potentially to fly on those dates. Okay. So this kind of gives us an idea when might be a good time to travel. So let's pretend client, let's say 5 nights. Let's look at this Wednesday, October 4th. So it's telling me it's going to be at least $227 for this date. But then it's going to pop up some other days here and you'll see it's filtered based on which date we chose. So let's say this Monday, the 9th. Okay, this is actually a pretty good deal. It will get them a good amount of time there in Cancun. So let's go ahead and select this and we're going to click done. So you can see you can already start your research before you even click search. So let's go ahead and click search. So there are going to be a lot of flights that pop up here. Okay. Let's kind of look through this. I want to start up here with our filters. Okay, so let's do some filtering because we know that there are some things that we're really looking for. You can see here Spirit pops up as the first choice. That's the $220 that we saw on the previous screen. Well, we don't recommend Spirit Airlines or Frontier. So I'm going here to airlines. you can click this only button and it will only show that airline. So if you have a client that wants to go on American, you can click only and it will only show American flights. In our case, we're going to uncheck Frontier. And we're also going to uncheck Spirit and Sun Country Airlines, okay? Archer Travel doesn't recommend these airlines. They do charge a lot of hidden fees for bags, for seats, and for carry-ons and things like that. They are the cheaper airlines, but they do have those hidden costs. So I'm going to uncheck those. If there was anything I knew about the client, like maybe they liked United or American, then I can, do that. But we're going to just leave it at that for now. And I'm going to go ahead and click X. So you can see here that we have some different options popping up. A lot of United flights. That doesn't surprise me. United does have a hub in Houston, so they do have a lot of flights. And then I look down here just briefly, there are a lot of one-stop flights here, but I can see that there seem to be a lot of nonstop offerings, and they really aren't that much different in price from these. And nonstop has a lot of value for your customer, for your client there. So I'm going to actually go up here back to my filters, and I'm going to go to stops, and I'm going to put nonstop only. Okay. Sometimes you have to have a stop, right? You can't always have a nonstop flight, but of course, if they have it, I always try to book that for my client. So now we're filtered down even more here. Okay, so now that we have some filters put in, let's look at some more of our research features that we have here, okay? Let's start over here with this date grid. Now, every time you apply a filter, that will be shown in the date grid. So those flights on Spirit, they're not going to show those prices on this date grid anymore. And the way this reads is this is your departure date, this is your return date, and what the cheapest flight is that matches your filters for that day. So I can look here and I can see these green ones are going to be the cheapest flights. They're going to be the least expensive options, okay? These are absolutely the cheapest. That's why they've got the little like diamond star. Now these green ones over here are good prices too. And then of course the red ones, they're the most expensive. So they kind of give you some visual indication here. So if your client has a specific number of nights they want to go, you would just kind of go along the diagonal, right? If we leave a day earlier, come back a day earlier, or leave a day later, come back a day later. So in this case, let's actually switch it to Tuesday to Sunday. We can see this is basically the cheapest around this time frame. We could also, do Tuesday to Monday if they wanted that extra night or not. But in this training, we're going to stick with the 5 nights. We're going to do Tuesday to Sunday. And we're going to click OK. And it's going to change everything here for us automatically. Okay. So then let's also look at the price graph. This is another great tool as well. If you have a client who says, I want to go in the fall on this trip, I want to go for a week in the fall. Okay, well, what's going to be the cheapest week flight wise, right? That might be your question. Now you can see here, each one of these bars represents 5 days because this is 5 days here. So this is Tuesday to Sunday. This bar represents Wednesday to Monday. Every single day in that 5 day period, they're going to have a block for that. So you can see here that this is really on the low end. It's showing us October and November. I'm sure you're not surprised to see around Thanksgiving time, there's a big, huge peak, okay? Really big peak here. Let's go back in time just so I can show you. If I go back and I'm really looking at more like September, October, you can see it's pretty flat. It's basically around the same, right? We're looking at, in this case, about $200 to about $400, not the same kind of peak we were looking at for Thanksgiving. But you could also click any of these bars and you could switch it. Again, if you are looking at 5 days, it's going to show every bar as 5 days. So I'm going to go ahead and click cancel. We're going to stick with the dates that we picked here. So let's look here at our flight options, okay? These are the flights that it has shown for us. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna look here, this very first one, these first 2 actually are the lowest price flights. They are both nonstop on United, but I'm noticing they're in the evening, okay? Both of these are evening flights. That's probably why they're cheaper, right? Most people, when they go to vacation, they wanna leave in the morning. And they want that first half day, right? They want that half day on the day that they're traveling. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, you know what? For my client, maybe they don't want to leave in the evening, or maybe they do. You can filter by time as well. So let's go look up here at our time filter. Here, we're going to go to times. And then the way this works is it's just a scrolling bar, okay? Your departure time and your arrival time. This is for the outbound flight, the departing flight. You can do the same for the return flight, and we'll get to that in a minute. Let's look at our departure here. Let's say I want my clients to depart before, I don't know, let's say 1 p.m. The flight needs to depart Houston before 1 p.m. So then it's going to filter my options. You guys see it changed over here. I could filter by arrival as well. When you're looking at a nonstop flight, I don't find this very valuable, but if you're looking for a flight where there's going to be layovers and whatnot, maybe the time they arrive is very important. Maybe they don't care when they depart. Maybe they want to arrive by 4 p.m. because they have something they have to do for dinner, right? You can filter by that too. Depends on what the client says, right? Very important to know your client and to qualify your client. So I'm looking here, I've got a 9:43 a.m. flight and a 10:09 a.m. flight. Both of them are starting at $282. So let me go ahead and click on this 10:09 flight. You can see when I click this drop down, it's going to give me the travel time. It also is giving me the flight number right here, United Airlines 1014. Okay, as well as some additional information over there. The flight number is very helpful, especially when you go look at the vendor, right? You want to make sure you're picking the same thing that you've researched and sent your client. So flight number can be very helpful there. Let's go ahead and select this one, okay? They're basically around the same time. We're going to just go with this 10:09 a.m. flight. So now we're looking at our returning flights. And the first thing I'm noticing is this one is very early. When I'm sending a client on a vacation, especially on an international vacation, I wouldn't want them leaving this early. The transportation will drop them off at the airport 3 hours in advance. So you can already see here, this client is maybe not getting much, if any, sleep that night. So in this case, I would say that it's not going to work. As a travel agent, I don't want to offer that to my client. I want to be a little better for them. So let's go back here to the times. So you can see we can do this for the return times as well. Let's say I don't want my client to leave before 10 in the morning. This way, at least they should be able to get a snack at the place that they're at. You remember, we're talking about Cancun, right? They'll be able to do something for breakfast. They will get some sleep. So I'm going to say here that I want them to depart after 10 a.m. Okay, so let's go back and look at our options here. We have a few options. This one here is quite a bit cheaper than the other two, but really they're not that far in price. I'm going to go here with this 5:20 p.m. departing flight. It is the cheapest that fits our filters here. And I'm going to look, and again, you'll see we have our flight number down here, and I'm going to select this flight. Okay, so now we are here kind of on our final screen, if you will, of our selections. So what you can do, you can open these both up. You know, if you are taking pictures or screenshots of what you're researching, this would be a great thing. Open them up. So again, you have the flight number, take a screenshot of this screen. But one thing you can do that's even better is you can actually track these prices. Okay, so if you click this toggle button here, I am now subscribed to those emails. So whenever this flight price changes, I'm going to get an email from Google automatically. So if you are tracking flight prices for a client, maybe for yourself, make sure you turn on the track prices out on the flights that you're really looking at. But you'll see here, it's telling me it's about $428 for these two flights on these days. So let's look down a little farther, our booking options. I'm gonna go ahead and X this out here. Now, when you're looking on Google Flights, they're going to choose the lowest fare option. And in this case, it's basic economy, okay? This is the price that they're really looking at. You'll see here, if you're not very familiar with the airline fare categories, basic economy is the basic category. You'll see you cannot select your seat in advance. You cannot get ticket changes for free. That's one thing United does, is they do free ticket changes for economy and above. No refund opportunities, no carry-on bags, okay? They would be able to have the personal item under their seat, but they would not be able to put something in the overhead bin. I very rarely will book basic economy for a client. First off, most people want to know where their seat is, right? They want to sit by the window. They want to sit in the aisle. They want to sit with their family. They want to sit with the people they're traveling with. So almost always I'm booking economy here. Free seat selection. That's a big winner right there. You can also change, change the flight if they need to change it. They don't charge a fee for changing. Of course, if the new flight's more expensive, you are going to pay that difference, and they get the free carry-on. So you'll see here just the gist of the idea. This is $518. Now, down here at the bottom, this is another really good feature of Google Flights, is they're going to tell you how this price compares to what they see statistically. So based on these dates and this time frame and all of the little factors that it considers, you have this little bar here, and they're going to give you the typical price. So again, we're looking at one person. So normally it would be $330 to $750 for one person to fly around this time of year on these airlines. We are at $428, which is typical, but it's on the low end. So if you have a client and they have a tight budget, maybe they have a very unrealistic budget, okay? What I like to do is if my client comes to me and says, hey, I want to go to Cancun for $500 per person, and we want to stay for a week. Well, I'm going to go, I already know in my head, that doesn't sound realistic. I don't think we could do that, but I don't want to waste my time. I want to use my time wisely. So I may come into Google Flights. I may pull up the flights for their dates for that week that they want to go. And I would come here and look at this bar, and I would say to my client, for these dates, it's on the very low end of typical. So you would be paying approximately $428, or in this case, if we went to economy, right, it'd be over $500. And just flat out let the client know, your flights are going to be over $400 per person. That is actually a good price for those flights and that time that you want to travel. So you can very quickly look up this information and immediately know that that client needs to up their budget or they need to consider something else before you even really put a quote together, right? This is so much faster. This is a great research tool, guys. You can also see the price history for this particular flights that we picked out. So you can see here, they were actually about $100 cheaper 50 or so days ago. You can see that they've gone up, but really it isn't like a steep increase or steep decrease. It's just slowly kind of gone up. It's kind of plateaued here lately. But you can also see, if, for example, today is way higher than it was a week ago, that might be a sign that you should wait a couple of days and see if it comes back down. So you can see here, this flight price hasn't really changed in a way that is any different than what you might expect. So again, Google Flights is a research tool. Use this to your advantage, especially when that client has that budget that is unrealistic. You can come in here very quickly, find out how much are they really going to spend just for those flights, because that can be a reality check for your client. And this is way faster than going into your vendor, plugging in their dates, finding them a hotel, right? You don't even have to find that hotel if they can't even afford the airfare to get there. So use this as a research tool. Again, we do not book travel here with Google Flights. You'll see you can book travel here with United. They'll direct you to United or maybe to another vendor potentially, but we do not do that, okay? This is a research tool. You are going to book the flights with one of our vendors, okay? So make sure that you take anything away from this video, it's that you're using Google Flights solely for research. So thank you so much for your time, guys. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you love Google Flights as much as I do. I use this all the time, and I will see you guys in the next training.